Join lifelong Star Wars fans Lauren and Steph as they dive into the world of Star Wars fan fiction, discussing a new fic each month, breaking down the writing style, characters, canon relationship, and more. This is your source for Star Wars fan fiction recommendations. So come on and find out why it's one hell of a fanfic. Hi, welcome to One Hell of a Fanfic, where we talk about a new Star Wars fanfic every month. I'm Steph, and this is Lauren. Lauren, how are you?
I'm good. I really enjoy this silly kick that we're on right now with the last couple fanfics that we've read. So I'm excited to talk about this one tonight.
Yes. So tonight we are talking about The Chips Didn't Work by Peppermint Shamrock. It was made back in 2020. It's only had like 2,300 words. So it's a short one. I read it very quickly. There's no spice whatsoever in it. It's canon divergent. It's completely it's silly. It's not meant to be broken down. Like, we're going to try. We'll try, but it's not really, it's just a fun one. The tropes, though. Help me with the tropes.
Okay, tropes, we have fix it and we have comedy. As I mentioned a second ago, this one was definitely a silly one. And the funny thing about the canon divergent thing, too, is that it does follow canon up until a point. Like, there's things referenced that are canon that I was actually kind of surprised that they kept in here, which I'll give more detail about that later. But there's, even though it's very much canon divergent, there's a couple things from canon that I was kind of surprised to see. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there.
So other information about this is that it was based off what they call a shit post, which is just a silly post that someone made that was just, I don't know, it's a shit post.
Dumb.
It's just dumb. Yeah.
Dumb on purpose.
So, exactly. Yeah. And so the author made one of those and was like, I think I'm just going to turn that into like a little story, and did. And it turned out great. There's also fan art, which was also just as great as the actual fanfic itself. Did you look at it?
Cute. Yes, it was so adorable.
We're gonna have to post like those links in with the rest of this. There's also two podfics, which are, if anyone doesn't remember, those are when somebody actually reads the story out loud to you. And there's even a couple of offshoots from this, other stories that based themselves off of this one, which I've seen like one or two that's happened, but this one's got two that has broken off from this silly little thing.
I love it when a shit post gets so popular that it like takes off and kind of like it takes a life of its own outside of just being a shit post.
Yes. Oh, it was so much fun. It's also, so this author has a whole series that they call Palpatine's the Worst and Deserves to Have His Plans, Day, and Life Ruined. And it's got a whole bunch of little stories in there that they wrote that embody that feeling.
Which, I mean, hard to disagree with that. Okay, so I will give the author summary. So, author summary. This is the way the author wrote this out is pretty funny. So, Darth Sidious, execute Order 66. Clones, execute Order 66. And it's written in that, like, for people who are listening that didn't actually read this, it's written in that mix of capital and lowercase letters to like indicate that they're mocking him. So, I mean, from that, you can kind of tell where this is going. But why do you think people should read this one?
It's short, it's cute, it's a fun read. And everything we mentioned earlier, like the fact that it's from a shit post is great.
I love the absurd take on what would happen if the chips malfunctioned.
Yep.
And I mean, everything follows canon, like all of Palpatine's plans, everything that led up to Order 66 happening, except for right when it's supposed to happen, for whatever reason, the chips just end up not working the way they were intended to work. And then we see just an absolute ridiculous fallout that comes from that.
I did want to jump in and say, hey, if you like what we're doing, if you could like our content, subscribe to the channel on YouTube or any of those podcatchers, that would be amazing.
Sweet. Okay, so are you ready to talk spoilers?
I'm so ready.
Okay, so I'm going to give my own summary of this. I am going to say spoilers. I'm going to ruin a lot of the jokes probably. So if you're thinking about reading this one, now is your time to turn back if you don't want spoilers. This starts off with right at the beginning of Order 66. We see that Palpatine has expected that all the Jedi are supposed to be dying, but what has actually happened is he doesn't feel anything in the Force. Like something has obviously not gone according to plan because he would have felt them all dying, and he is not. And then the hollow messages from the clones start to come in. And this is where things just get ridiculous, is he's asking the clones, execute Order 66, what's going on? And the clones just obviously were not affected by the chips at all, like they were in canon. And they're standing there talking to Palpatine, and in almost every single conversation that Palpatine has with a clone, there's actually a Jedi standing in the background in like a stupid disguise that is like a horrible, thought out disguise. And Palpatine's like, what are you doing? You're supposed to be killing that Jedi. And the clone is like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't see any Jedi. And it's just like so many absurd examples of this that we get to see with like all of our favorite Jedi characters from the Clone Wars. And pretty much like with each transmission, Palpatine is getting more and more frustrated. And he's like, apparently, like, nobody cares. So eventually, this one was kind of interesting because most of the time the clones are just like making a big joke about it. But there is a conversation that Palpatine has with Rex, and Ahsoka's in the back. And Palpatine tells Rex, you're supposed to kill Ahsoka. And Rex is like, she's not a Jedi. And Palpatine's like, okay, well, that's just a matter of semantics. So I thought that was interesting that Palpatine knew that even though she's not part of the Order anymore, you know, I mean, deep down, she kind of always was a Jedi, in my opinion, at least. And Rex just is like angry and then just hangs up on him. So with that one, there's not much of a like a silly kind of conversation like he has with everybody else. Rex just is like, I'm not doing this, and then hangs up. And there was a line that was pretty funny. Just, I mean, not like laugh out loud funny, but funny in the way of like, wow, you really messed this up. Which goes, what was supposed to be the ultimate act of revenge, brought about by a millennium of meticulous planning and patience, had become a game. So it's like all of his plans, just nobody takes them seriously except him. And it was pretty satisfying to see that. But you get the sense that Palpatine has not fully given up yet. He's still going to try to salvage this. But I think the last straw is when he has another conversation with a clone, and Mace Windu is actually in the background, who had survived, missing his hand. So the fall still did happen. So I was kind of surprised that they kept that in there, that Mace did fall after his fight with Palpatine, but Mace survived the fall, and he's in the background of one of the transmissions too. And then the fic ends shortly after that, where it's kind of on an ambiguous note if Palpatine actually gave up or not. But it almost feels like it really doesn't matter because nobody really cares what he has to say. So I don't know if he's really going to make that much progress, even if he does try again. And that was the end of the fic.
Yeah. Yeah, that about covers it. The only thing you could do at this point is like actually completely spoil all of the jokes. Yeah.
Yeah. I had to leave the part about Mace in there, but we do see a lot of the Jedi just doing ridiculous things. So that's pretty fun.
Which section was your favorite?
Definitely the part with Mace. I was so happy because this was a fix it, and since Order 66 was just like a big joke, I was kind of like just assumed that the fight with Mace maybe somehow didn't happen. I don't know. I just thought that maybe if it's a fix it, then maybe Mace was just doing something else. I don't know. But I liked it that the fight did happen and Mace did fall, but he actually survived and then still came back to laugh at Palpatine at the end of that. So that was my favorite part because it was kind of a surprise to see him. I didn't really expect that.
My favorite scene was probably where Palpatine called up one of the clones and then was like, hey, you have to kill the Jedi back there. And they're like, oh, you're absolutely right. Let me get to that. Turns around and shoots. Oh, who was it? Um, Shakti. That's who it was.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, with like basically a Nerf gun. And then she dramatically, oh no, I'm dying. And all the children come, oh, we'll save you. And I was like, that's amazing.
I loved in that scene too, like at the beginning of the conversation, it's mentioned that Palpatine can just hear a bunch of children like shrieking in the background.
Yeah.
Like he's calling into like a daycare.
Yes. And then it mentions and it's like, but it's not the screaming that of what it should be. And he's like, where's Anakin? Apparently they had stunned him for a nice nap because he was having a day.
Yeah, I mean, you could say that. Yeah, you
Yeah.
could say he was having a day. I was surprised by that too. Were you surprised that Vader was still part of this?
Yeah, I was. I was not sure. So because that I think that one came before the Mace one. So I was confused at that point. And then the Mace one came. Okay, I was like, oh, okay. So that whole fight did happen still. And so he was forcibly put down for a nap and the doctors were working on him.
Yeah. So I guess it's like literally everything was the same other than the chips just not working. Just by changing that one detail, Palpatine's whole plan unravels because even with Anakin, Anakin was not enough.
The author did a good job setting it up at the beginning. The first one when he calls Cody, Cody's like, "You're asking us, or no? Oh yes, of course we shot and killed our generals in cold blood," which it makes sense. Like, as you can kind of see that one where Obi-Wan hasn't had time to get a disguise, so
Oh yeah.
he's just going. He's like, "Oh no, this is our stripper. We just gave him Obi-Wan's like
Which is
his
like, why do y'all have a stripper? That's another question.
right." And then there's all of this is all done in Palpatine's point of view, except for one section. It's directly after that one. That was like two lines where you just see like Cody is like, I think you do pretty good as a stripper or whatever. And I
Yeah.
was amused by that.
It almost feels like he's going in order of like everybody that he was expecting to check in with at a certain time, because if he checks in with Cody first and Obi-Wan hasn't even had time to get a disguise on, then it's like, okay, well, I guess I'll try the next person. And then he finds like the same kind of
Yep.
situation. But I think my favorite, other than getting to see Mace, what I loved is when Palpatine is talking to the clones at one point and there's the Twi'lek Jedi standing behind them with a mustache, and Palpatine goes, Twi'leks don't have mustaches, and the clone is like, she has a condition.
And it's legitimately one of those glasses with the nose and mustache. That just makes me so happy.
It's just so ridiculous. Yeah. I loved it. I was just laughing at just how dumb, and I mean like dumb in a good way,
Oh,
how
absolutely.
dumb the whole like premise was of just nobody taking Palpatine seriously at all, which I mean, I guess the clones wouldn't have been as influenced by him as everybody else was if they didn't have the chips, because I mean, while Palpatine was supposedly like very charismatic and like able to manipulate people, I mean, I doubt the clones would really actually buy that if it wasn't for the chips.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't work with them directly anyway.
Yeah, and he's the one responsible for like them having to go to war and like live these horrible lives. So they
Yeah.
probably aren't too impressed with him, I would think.
I actually had a question. So,
Okay.
bringing back to the Nerf guns, which they don't call it a Nerf gun, they call it something else, but it's a Nerf gun because they talk about the foam.
It's a
The
Star
foam.
Wars Nerf gun, yeah.
It is, yeah. Um, I hadn't really considered what kind of toys that they would play with, like children would play with. Now, that new show that's out, Skeleton Crew, you do get to see children doing children things. So obviously, like, there's going to be toys, but I never really considered what it's not really a question, more of like, had you even thought about it? Like all of the toys that, what cool things they probably have.
They probably do have some crazy ones. I know that the only time I can think of off the top of my head that I've seen a toy in canon is in Rogue One when she has the little wooden dolls. They're like little wooden stormtrooper dolls.
Yeah.
But it's like they've got to have some more advanced stuff than that. I feel like her situation was kind of like, they were farmers and they were living out in the middle of nowhere, so that might not have been a good representation of what kind of toys are actually out there.
Yeah.
But I mean, they've got to have some crazy stuff.
Right? I want to grow up with cool, crazy toys. Well, okay. Well, it's 2024. There's some cool, crazy stuff. You should see the things my kids ask for.
Like in a good way or a bad way?
It's a good thing. But it's all electronic.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, now I feel like kids always just want iPads.
Mm.
Which
mine have phones and switches, and that's all they need. We have seen more toys in canon. Like Omega has her stuffed whatever that is.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And then also in Bad Batch, there were the toys they were supposed to play with, where they're really just like kind of like puzzle games. And then we've seen some in Skeleton Crew.
I mean, we've seen like cool. Oh my goodness, what is the name of this game? When I think of the name of this game, I'm gonna feel so silly. The game that Chewbacca likes to play, the board game.
Oh,
with the
Hollow Chest.
With the yes. I mean, that's pretty
Hollow
cool.
Chest, yeah, that is pretty cool. That book that's in Skeleton Crew, and it's got it flips through all the pages and glows. Well, anyway, that was a sidetrack. It just got me thinking.
I mean, I hadn't really thought about. I can think of some instances, but I hadn't really thought too deeply before about what kind of toys would be available, because I feel like we haven't seen all there is to offer in canon in terms of toys. My question for you, do you think that, okay, eventually Anakin's or Vader now is gonna wake up from being stunned. What do you think the chances are of, is he gonna try to help Palpatine get this under control, or is he gonna be like, y'all are right, this is pretty stupid?
My hope is that the clones are he's going to say something stupid and the clones are just going to knock him back out again until he gets his act together.
Every time he wakes up, they give him another chance.
Yeah.
And then
eventually his wife's going to show up and be like, can you knock it off?
Oh, do you think Padme still?
Better
okay, so it's mentioned that Palpatine does use the whole line about you can save your wife.
Right. But is she in danger,
Yeah.
Because I mean, the only reason she died was from heartbreak.
So,
So if he doesn't ever break her heart to the point of death.
Because we know that the fight happened between Anakin, Palpatine, and Mace.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with them being on Mustafar, if Order 66 falls apart, then they don't ever end up on Mustafar, do they?
No, it kind of nips that in the bud. So just imagining her with her, just like a hand, like a little fan, just whacking him, knock it off.
One of her fashion accessories, one of her many accessories. Yeah. Okay, I like that idea, because if she's alive and around, she's not gonna stand for that. That's gonna, she's gonna be like, either you quit this or I leave you now. So, and I think that means he would quit that. I don't think he would let her leave him.
I think that kind of wraps everything up.
Yeah, I think we covered it for me too. This was a super fun one. It had me laughing, and I like it how lately we've chosen a couple of ridiculous ones. It's been fun. Yes.
We had to balance out the Halloween one.
Oh, yeah, the scary one. Well, we've done some dark ones. We've done some sad ones, some scary ones.
Some spicy ones.
That one, yeah. We've kind of gone all across the board, which I like.
Time travel, because that's what we're going to do. That's what we're doing next.
Oh, okay. Let's hear about it.
So we are going to read a new adventure by... all one word. Carry on, my wayward son of a bitch.
That's awesome.
Yes.
I love that name.
So it's a story. It's about a little over 8,000 words. So it's a bit longer than what we've been reading lately, but still manageable. It's a story about how Obi-Wan goes back in time a couple of times, but he just never tells anybody. It's a fix it fic. So it's another one of those heartwarming ones, I'm sure, in the end, which I like. You like.
Mm-hmm.
It's all good.
Yeah.
So he goes back in time and he doesn't tell anyone until in the middle of like a really boring council meeting. He's finally just like, so in this thing, and then it sets on a cascade of events.
Okay, that sounds fun.
It should be. Have we done time travel before?
I don't think we have. And time travel is one of those ones that there's lots of different ways that I feel like the author can interpret it and work with it. So even though it's
Yeah.
like, okay, time travel, you're familiar with the concept, there's still kind of an interesting moment where you're kind of like, how are they going to approach this? So that'll be cool.
Where can everyone find us?
So we are on Instagram at One Hell of a Fanfic with a period in between every word. And that's where we post when we have a new episode dropping. And then we also are on YouTube. If you like to watch video while you listen, we post our video recordings on YouTube. And that is also called One Hell of a Fanfic. And then we're also on Tumblr at One Hell of a Fanfic.
I hope everyone comes out to find us.
Yes, please check us out. And especially if you watch on the YouTube, please like and subscribe. That helps with the whole YouTube algorithm calculation, blah, blah, blah. So if you're watching us on YouTube, please like it if you liked the episode.
Or if you didn't, we're not going to complain.
Or if you didn't, then I guess that's
like it
okay
anyway.
too. All right. Well, we will see y'all next month. Thanks so much for joining us at One Hell of a Fanfic. On this podcast, we discuss Star Wars fan fiction, but we do not own the rights to Star Wars or any of the written works we cover. We have no affiliation with Lucasfilm or the fanfic authors we credit for their work. For questions, please email us at onehellofafanfic@gmail.com.